Let's be honest, ladies and gentlemen, some champions just don't fit the mold. Lex, Ashe, I'm staring at you. We see flanks excelling at damage and we see tanks excelling at flanking. What does this mean about the entire design of champions and paladins and where it's going? Ultimately, the question I want to raise is, should we create another class or two classes to help these standout champions fit in a little bit more? Or is it okay the way it is and some champions are just destined to be individuals in their own right? Now, before we go any further into the conversation, I want to give a big shout out to our sponsor for today's video, liquidsky. And no, Sky has not turned into Liquid. Listen, if you have bad internet connection, if you have to play on super high latency, if your PC just isn't letting you get to the graphic settings you want to get to, and you haven't saved up enough money for the upgrade, liquidsky is your best bet. It's literally a new computer in the cloud. All you do is you take your existing Steam, your Battle.net, your Origin, your Windows Store libraries, and you throw those games into the liquidsky storage database. There you can play with up to a gigabyte-second download speed and 100 megabyte upload speeds while having super low latency, ultra high quality settings that mimic the performance of a high-end gaming computer. Listen guys, I went into debt when I first got this computer. I had to pay thousands of dollars that I didn't have to invest in my channel, and it was a great decision. But what's even more amazing is that just this morning I was able to log into liquidsky and record this footage that you're watching right now. This performance and this quality is relatively comparable to what I put out in my normal videos after spending thousands of dollars on my computer. So guys, don't waste this opportunity. Check out liquidsky and let me know what you think. So kicking back off the conversation into Paladins and veering the conversation towards the island of misfit champions, who in their own right have a big impact on the game, but just not the way we would expect them to have it. The flanker Lex is extremely impactful in Paladins, but it's not because he flanks, it's because he does a lot of damage. And Ashe, the latest frontline, is played and designed more like a frontline that isn't supposed to be on the objective, but meant to play anywhere besides the objective. Her shield is moving, for crying out loud. She's not meant to stay in one place. Although Makoa, Fernando, Ruckus can flank, I believe that their design kind of lends them to be more effective overall in a good team composition with them being on the point, whereas Ashe, not quite sure. And now looking at a flanker perspective, Eevee and Androxus, for example, are most effective when blinking in or dashing into the backline and assaulting either the Kinessas sniping there, the Shaolins who want to stay perched up and fire onto the fight from above, or any healer who's trying to stay safe and out of the fray. Whereas that's not the case for Lex. Lex's kit almost encourages him to stay in the back of the fight because he hits so hard from far away. And with no huge gap closer and a lack of vertical mobility, Lex is kind of forced to sit and wait until his prey becomes low enough for him to hunt down and finish off with 1 or 2 shots. What we have here is a flanker who actually becomes more successful and impactful to his team when he doesn't flank, and a frontline champion who is more successful for her team when she's not on the point. My dear Goodman, that's called irony. But who cares about that? Where does this leave us going forward? As more champions are added into Paladins, I find that this question is going to be more and more pertinent to answer, as champions such as Zen on release are already facing questions as to why he's been titled a flanker. If the standard for flanking mobility is Androxus and Eevee, how can anyone be considered to do their job as well if they don't have that similar mobility? And to their credit, that's a good question. If somebody doesn't have insane mobility and does a decent amount of damage, why would you classify them as a flank and not a damage dealer? Why isn't the next champion Androxus 2.0, and then after that Eevee 2.0, and then Androxus 3.0, and then Eevee 3.0, and then you see where I'm going with this? As new champions are developed, they will have different skills and different aspects that they bring into a fight. Although many flankers like Zen don't have the traditional mobility of Androxus or Eevee, they can still impact the game the way a flanker can, by capitalizing on low health targets and being able to secure kills and help to snowball a fight if they win their duels. Expecting to play Ashe the same way you play Barrack, or expecting to play Androxus or Eevee the same way you play Zen or Lex is going to create some frustrating experiences for players. As you learn more about Paladins, you come to understand that Ashe and Barrack play totally different, as well as Zen and Eevee aren't on the same playing field in terms of what they do and how they do it. And to be frank, with a class-based hero shooter, that is absolutely what to expect. The different champions do their job in a different way. However, this hurts the casual low setting because most players don't understand the difference between a Pip main healing your team versus a Moldamba main healing your team and their relative capabilities to do so. This results in somebody saying, hey, I need a support, and picking Pip, and you saying, wait a second, I said I need a support, not Pip. Pip is a flank, we all know it. Although clarity in classification could help to understand for new players whether Pip could actually be a main healer or if they should be looking between Ying, Moldamba, and Saris to do that job, the truth is no matter what you classify Pip as, he will never be able to heal as much as a Moldamba. and maybe that's the case with flankers as well. No matter what you classify Zen or Lex, they will never be able to travel as fast across the map as an Androxus or an Eevee. When people are selecting flankers, maybe they're selecting them for their mobility in general, just being able to get to the tough spots and use their damage at the appropriate time onto the appropriate person. And having a title of flank doesn't guarantee you being in my game at all. I just need someone who's going to be able to get to that Kinessa. If you can't compete with an Androxus or an Eevee in terms of raw mobility, and that's what people are looking for in terms of a flank at a high level, then you have to compete with damage champions. And guess what the top tier damage champions have right now? A lot of mobility and a lot of damage. The reason you're not picked as a flanker and Androxus and Eevee are picked above you is because you don't have enough mobility. So you lose in every category. As you can see, champions who can't directly compete with the top flanker's ability to get into the back line and do their job as a flank are in a very precarious situation design-wise. They have to be able to contribute enough so that they actually can compete with their class, but in a different enough way so that they provide a unique trait to the battlefield that is just as important. And to be honest, because mobility is so highly valued at the higher levels of play, it's probably got to be more important. It's got to be clearly better than a high mobility champion. And Lex, he does this. He can headshot you for like 1100 damage. He could shoot you with very minimal fall off from very far away and still impact the point fight. He can right click and secure kills onto target better than anybody, and also he has an ultimate that can 5-man wipe a team. He's also hit scan, which means he's a good counter to airborne targets such as Drogos. Lex's damage isn't splash damage, but it competes with those of a damage class, and that is why he brings enough value to be considered a flanker on certain maps like Jaguar Falls or Bright Marsh, where his lack of mobility isn't as big a deal. But that's also why he's frustrating at a low level. Players look at Lex and they say, why is he not in the damage class? He does so much damage to me, and yet he still has this 4-second cooldown dash. So for champions like Pip, Zen, Lex, Ash, would it be better to group them together and call them something else? You know, off the top of my head, something like Specialist, denoting that these champions play a great role in Paladins, are very valuable when used correctly and in the right map, the right team composition, but aren't your traditional flankers, aren't your traditional frontliners, and aren't your traditional healers. What do you guys think? Would that help the clarity of Paladins from a lower level? And just for you right now, whatever level you're at, do you think this would add value to the game, or is it unnecessary? I think these thought conversations are really intriguing to me, and I'd love to hear what you all have to say in the conversation in the comment section below. Please leave a like, share the video, and talk about it with your friends. See if you guys can come up with a consensus and get back to me. All in all, I think it's important to have these conversations because the community helps to drive the direction of this game so much, and I really appreciate everybody who does take the time to respond, to talk about it, and to think about these ideas. It helps you to think like a designer, think like a game developer, and overall, if you want to get into the video game industry, these are conversations you're going to need to have with yourself and with other people. Personally, I do like the idea of adding another class that allows for a more wide array of champion specialties to be introduced into the realm. I think it's amazing seeing how Zen, how Ash, how all of the champions coming before and coming after will contribute to creating a dynamic opportunity for players to experience the game the way they want it. Customization doesn't start and end with skins. It's in the loadouts, it's in the items, it's in the inherent uniqueness of each champion and what they bring to a battleground. And I don't want to homogenize characters saying that, hey, if Zen doesn't have super high vertical mobility or if Skye doesn't have it, they need to get it, otherwise they won't be valuable. I do believe there will be a day that Skye rises in the ranks, and I don't think it will be a result of vertical mobility. And I think Zen is fun and valuable, and is probably going to make a great statement in the Paladins competitive scene and casual scene alike, but it may not be his time quite yet. One of the interesting things about a class design system is when you do design a character, you do look to see which class they fit in and how you can not only fit them in the class, but make them unique. If you have a specialist class, you do open up some doors, I would think, of creating champions that are even farther beyond the mold than what we've seen thus far. Essentially, I think the specialist class would be filled of champions like Pip, like Ash, maybe even Torvald. I'd throw Kinessa in there. I'd throw maybe Inara in there, but maybe not. She could be more traditional frontline now that she's got that slowed moving speed, isn't as much a bruiser. I'd throw Lex in there. I might throw Zen, don't know enough yet. Maybe Skye, maybe throw Willow in there. And then I'd try to make sure that every champion is buffed so that they can do exactly what they're meant to do. And what that would mean is that the right moment, the right map for a Zen, a Skye, an Ash may not come all the time, but when it does come, it would be awesome. Paladins is in a great spot. No one can deny that. The esport is burgeoning, teams are developing more and more skillful play and better strategies that are exciting to watch. The casual scene is ever growing and loving the new additions to the game every couple of weeks. New champions are coming out of the wazoo. I mean, it's hard to complain, and this certainly isn't complaining. This is conjecturing as to some cool steps that maybe would help the game, and maybe they're totally unnecessary. You guys let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, because I want to know, am I off base? Does this seem like totally not needed, or maybe this would provide some serious value for low level, high level, any level? Let me know what you guys think below. Another big thank you to liquidsky for sponsoring the video. Check them out again in the description below and get your cloud PC gaming on. And as always, remember to never give up, never stop gaming, and I'll see you all next time.